Donald Trump's back in the news, and he's coming in hot. He is now filing a class action lawsuit against the big tech companies, some of the ones that have given us a lot of grief here on this channel, including Twitter, Facebook, and Google. And so this is catching everybody by surprise a little bit. This is a big move. We've been hearing a lot of, rumblings about Trump's next move. What's he going to do? And a lot of speculation about the next platform. Is he going to be on Parler? No, that didn't work out. Is he going to be on Getter? No, that didn't work out. Is he going to have a sort of his own website or launch something new? No, not really. So now what he's doing, he's going right back at the face of the beast, taking it right back to these people. And I think it's actually a good thing. I've had a lot of problems with this for a long time, talked about sort of this in the context of civil liberties, talking about the raising the standard that we demand free speech in this country. And largely we've said that the government is not allowed to do that, but the government has gotten around that. They've escaped their prohibition against limitations on free speech by embarking on these sort of very, very close, almost incestuous relationships with the big tech platforms so that Facebook can censor you. And when they do it, it's not the government, it's Facebook. They're a private company. They can do whatever they want. Same with Twitter, same with Yahoo or Google or YouTube or any one of these other places. They can do whatever they want. And because it's not the federal government, it has no implication on free speech, even though most of the speech is happening on these platforms. The government locked everybody down, said you can't go outside, so you actually can't go out there and actually speak freely in public. So we're going to lock you down, and then we're going to take away the only mechanisms that you do have to really participate meaningfully online, like Twitter and some of these other platforms. So you can't contest, you can't even speculate about COVID or the election or any of these things. And they're just going to strip that right out from under you. And we've been doing our part here to slowly but surely sort of build the next platform and encourage this migration to develop other communities where we can really connect a little bit more meaningfully, build something better than the old tech platforms, right? Move over to locals, get off of YouTube, get off of all these other places, and then eventually we can start creating communities that have deeper connections and deeper bonds, and the tech companies become superfluous. But that takes a long time, right? That takes a lot of runway in order to build that. We know that YouTube and Google and all of these other companies have been building for 20 years, many of them, and now they're doing well. So it's going to take some time. And I've always been somebody who is a big proponent in free speech and the First Amendment. I think it's absolutely critical to everything that we do. That's why it's the first one. Everything else doesn't matter if you can't talk about it freely. And so the fact that Donald Trump and his team are going to be going hard against some of these tech companies, I think this is a good move. Now, I'm not sure that they're going to get anywhere because I don't know that necessarily that the law is on their side, but at least what we see here is a response to this. It's sort of the same thing that we're going to see from the Democrats. They're going to be beating the hell out of the January 6th stuff, basically for the next probably decade or so. And so whether Donald Trump is winning this or not, right, whether this goes up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court comes back down and says, you're right, Donald, this is wrong. Free speech for everybody. And they sort of put the limitations on some of these big tech platforms that are, in my opinion, are actually undermining free speech. I think they're dropping below the standard. So the Supreme Court is not really mandating anything. It's just sort of reestablishing the baseline standard that we have free speech. We did this previously with civil rights, right? Remember when people would say, black people over there at that drinking fountain and white people over here. And we as a country said, that's ridiculous. That's insanity. Yes, it's a private company. We get that, but that's a violation of civil rights. We're not going to allow that anymore. And we didn't. And it's because we raised the standard up here. We don't let private companies do things that infringe on our liberties. And Facebook and Twitter and Google and the rest of them are not exempt from this. So this, at least, regardless of what the Supreme Court says, they may not ever get there. They may not ever find that. But at least we're going to see this continue to be discussed in the court of public opinion, which is why I'm happy about it, because there needs to be an effort here to show these people that there are consequences when you do this. And the fact that this is going to be in a federal district court for the Southern District of Florida, that means that this lawsuit is going to be going on for some time, and every day, just like the Democrats are going to do to beat the drum about, the insurrection or about the Russians or about whatever hoax that they're, promulgating any particular day, Donald Trump and the right every day are going to be able to keep just rubbing big tech's face's nose in their un-American activities, which is a good thing, which makes me excited. So let's see what's going on here. Now, before we start, I don't actually have a copy of the lawsuit in this video. So if you're watching for that, I didn't get it today. My understanding is this was filed today, so it's going to hit the court docket at some point, and then I will get a copy of it, and we'll look through it because I want to do a deeper dive. We actually may take a whole show on that one. We'll see, because I think it is a very important issue. And this is going to come back again the second time around, right? This is not a done deal. If we think that Twitter and Facebook and Google were all just like, oh, it was only because of Donald Trump and we're never going to do that again. Yeah, right. Okay, we've got 2022 midterms coming up, 2024 after that. Donald Trump's probably going to be right back in the pack again. And so they're going to have to revisit this. So now's the time to start going after these people, right? I'm not a civil lawyer. I'm not a class action lawyer, but I can tell you, I think it's worth the effort to bring these cases in court, and let's let this unfold in the court of public opinion as well as the court of law. Let's see what they have to say for themselves and how they explain this, because I can tell you people like me are going to be talking about this a lot and making sure that somebody with some effort, some heft to him, like Donald Trump and the people behind him, have some energy as they bring this, because I think it is very important. If we lose our speech, we lose the ability to fight back at all. We can't talk anymore. And that means that you just accept whatever your overlords mandate for you. Okay, so let's get into the actual story here. Over from the Epoch Times, Trump announces a major class action lawsuit against Twitter, Facebook, and Google. He announced Wednesday he is filing lawsuits against all of those people. They suspended his social media accounts 6 months ago after the January 6th Capitol incident. Speaking from his property in Bedminster, New Jersey, Trump and his team said the lawsuits are about protecting the First Amendment right to free speech. They argued that his rights were denied when the three big tech companies banned him. Trump described the major lawsuits as a very beautiful development. I agree with that. To protect free speech, he says the suits are going to be filed in the U.S. District Court, so that's a federal court in the Southern District of Florida. They're going to ask a judge to order an immediate halt to social media companies alleging shadow banning, censoring, blacklisting, and canceling of people who express political viewpoints outside of the mainstream. Here is Donald Trump out there today. We've got former president. He's at the Trump National Golf Club over in New Jersey. He announced a lawsuit. And so let's listen in and see what he has to say.
Thank you very much, Brooke. I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. I just want to say that I stand before you this morning to announce a very important and very beautiful, I think, development for our freedom and our freedom of speech. And that goes to all Americans.
Wait.
Today, in conjunction...
Wait, is that not playing?
With the American...
Was that not playing? Was that audio not playing? I think I just took a big gulp. All right, so...
The First Policy Institute. I'm filing as the lead class...
All right, so I'm not sure if the audio is playing.
Representative.
I can't tell if the audio is playing. I apologize. I couldn't tell if that audio is playing. Trump came out and he said specifically that he announced what I just read, essentially. So let's carry on with the rest of the story. I apologize for that. Trump's lawyers said the lawsuit will focus on provisions in the Section 230, which they argued was created in the 1990s to protect children from harmful online content. The way the big tech firms currently use the law as a shield, he says, is not what they intended to do. He said they're not immune anymore. So this is coming from Pam Bondi. We're going to take a look at the AFPI, which is the America First Priorities Institute, here in a second. So Pam Bondi is on that team. Meanwhile, former president also appeared to the mainstream media. Trump described Trump described mainstream narratives around Republicans wanting to defund the police, the Russian collusion claims, and COVID-19 is false. So by throwing people off the internet, basically we couldn't discuss any of those things. During his news conference on Wednesday, he accused the federal government of using Facebook, Twitter, and Google as a de facto censorship arm during the COVID-19 pandemic, which is exactly what I was saying. You know, it's sort of the government knows they can't do certain things, so they outsource it to these different third parties like Facebook, and they do the censoring because the U.S. government can't do it. All right, so now we know that COVID-19 sort of emerged as a new theory that maybe it did escape from a lab. Earlier this year, Joe Biden said many members of the U.S. intelligence community now view the theory as viable. So, you know, if this stuff were allowed to be talked about back then, would more lives have been saved if we talked about different treatment therapies and different ideas about how to handle this thing? Could the policies have been different, and maybe that would have been better for society? Who knows? We won't know, because all of that speech was silenced. So Donald Trump is now filing this lawsuit, and he's backed by a pretty hefty organization. I want to show you what's going on here. This is the AFPI, the American First Policy Institute. And if we go over to their website, we're going to see here that they tell us that they are a 501c3 nonprofit, nonpartisan research institute. And I always like to look at a place's, principles or values or their mission or whatever their statement is. And here they define it for us. They say our guiding principles are liberty, free enterprise, national greatness, American military superiority, foreign policy engagement in the American interest, and the primacy of American workers, families, and communities. That sounds pretty good to me. Sounds pretty reasonable. All pretty good concepts there if you happen to like America, which I do. Now, I want to show you who's on this team, right? Because we've got some pretty significant names on here. You may recognize some of these. We got Linda McMahon. She's chairman of the board. We've got Larry Kudlow. He's over, I think, on Fox Business. And then the Honorable Brooke Rollins. So we're going to hear from her, and we're also going to hear from Pam Bondi. We have these two people who are a part of this organization that are helping sort of Trump file this lawsuit. And so she's the chairman of the Constitutional Litigation Partnership. So that's Pam Bondi. And then Brooke Rollins is the president and the CEO. We've got David Bernhardt over here, Josh Campbell. He's a constitutional lawyer. We've got Jack Brewer over here, Center for Opportunity. You'll recognize some of these other names. Let's see who else. We got a retired lieutenant general over here. We have Catherine Cipher. None of these people really stand out, but over here, you may recognize this guy. This is the Honorable John Ratcliffe, right? He was the former director of national intelligence, and so he's a part of this organization. You may also recognize this fellow over here. This is Rick Perry, the Honorable Rick Perry, former governor of Texas. Now he's for the Center for Energy Independence. He's the chairman over there, and he's also sort of a part of this organization. So some other people, maybe you recognize, maybe you don't, but that is the AFPI, and they gave a statement today. They're telling us what this is all about, and here is their press release. They say that the America First Policy Institute, they applaud the class action by Donald Trump and other brave patriots representing Americans who've had their First Amendment rights violated by people like Facebook, Zuckerberg, Twitter, Dorsey, Google, and Sundar Pichai. Is, I think, how Trump said it. Protected by an outdated and misinterpreted Section 230, these elites and their firms ride roughshod over some of the most fundamental American rights: the right to speak, the right to be heard, the right to democratic representation. This lawsuit is not the end of that fight. It is the beginning. It's a fight that AFPI is committed to seeing through. AFPI will continue to support everyday Americans' efforts to hold big tech accountable. Every American can share their personal stories of big tech censorship or sign up for updates on these historic efforts to protect their First Amendment freedoms. Where do you go if you want to do that? If you're listening in the audience and you want to go participate in that, takeonbigtech.com, right? This is a class action lawsuit. So they want everybody to go on there. They created a website called Take on Big Tech. So if you want to go check that out, if you're somebody who's been censored or demonetized, then maybe you go over there and you just sort of, let them know what happened. Maybe we'll do that. So let's take a look at two of the leaders here who are part of this organization. Of course, right here is Brooke L. Rollins, president and CEO of AFPI. So this is her. This is over from Wikipedia. So she was Donald Trump's domestic policy counsel, or the director of that council, from May 24 to January 2021 for under Donald Trump, age 49. Looks like she's over from Texas. And so she says there's not much precedent for an American president, sitting president, taking major media corporations to court. He's not sitting now. Nor is there much precedent for an American president engaging the judiciary to shape the landscape of American freedoms after his presidency. President Trump often remarked that if big tech is out to get him, it's because they're out to get the American people. And he was just standing in the way. The actions of the big tech firms we're taking to court illustrate the point perfectly. What they've done, what they've wrought in the past few years, staggers the imagination. All Americans need Donald Trump to win, not for what it will mean for him, but what it will mean for every American man, woman, or child. Okay. So I am certainly appreciative of their perspective. I think the free speech issue is sort of bigger than Donald Trump. Sounds like she's, advocating for Donald Trump to sort of, to win or something. But I think that the bigger issue, of course, is free speech. Now, statement from, not that I don't want Donald Trump to win. I mean, I think that there's a problem there, right? If you start making this about, only about Donald Trump, if you start saying that, this is just, we're mad that Donald Trump didn't win, that's the wrong issue. That's not a winning issue. The winning issue is free speech. The winning issue is no censorship. The winning issue is free expression, free association, American ideals. And if you fight for those things, as a natural consequence, the person who is the symbolic embodiment of that, Donald Trump, he gets the benefits as well. But if you flip that equation, if you make this about Donald Trump first and free speech second, okay. I mean, I guess it's still a good fight, but we want to make sure be careful there that this is about free speech, which is the stronger argument. Because you'll lose a large number of people if you just say, well, it's only about Donald Trump. Because certainly there are moderates, or there are people who are populists, or there are, standard Republicans, or even Democrats or liberals who are disgusted about some of the censorship, right? The censors are always the bad guys, always. So you might win some people over to that side of the argument, including judges, including, maybe some people even from within big tech itself, if it's about free speech. But if it becomes about, if it becomes too politically ideological, that becomes a problem. Same thing that happened with some of the justice reform stuff. Remember when Black Lives Matter came about, and now it's morphed into this entire, Marxist ideological group that has virtually nothing to do with criminal justice reform. Don't want that to happen here. Who else do we have? This is Pam Bondi. She is a constitutional litigation partner over at AFPI. She says, things have changed over the past several years, and the First Amendment rights of all Americans are on the line in this case. The law and the Constitution are on our side. America is the great country that it is because our Constitution protects our freedoms, including freedom from censorship. This lawsuit ensures that those rights are properly defended. Over here, you can see that she, it looks like, was the Attorney General for Governor Rick Scott, and 37th Attorney General over in Florida, I believe that is. Pamela Jo Bondi, she's a Republican and also comes from Florida, University of Florida and Stetson. So that is two ladies who are helping lead the charge on this thing, which is great. And you'll notice that we don't really recognize any of these people. These are not the same impeachment lawyers. These are not the same election litigation attorneys either. These are new people, and they have a big organization behind them. And so we'll wrap this up before we get some questions over from watchingthewatchers.locals.com. But I want to finish over from the Epoch Times. It says, since leaving office, Trump has opted to release statements. He did not sign up on any social media sites like Parler or Getter, and he isn't sure if he'll join Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube if the lawsuit is successful. He announced a legal effort that is supported by America First, and he wants thousands of other people to join him by going to Take On Big Tech. And Google, Facebook, and Twitter did not immediately respond to requests for comments on Wednesday. So, okay, so let's see what's going on over at the chat, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Let's see what's going on in here. We've got Joe Snows here. Want to know says, what I like about Facebook is I'll keep your ad revenue for myself if I don't like what you say. So Facebook is, yeah, you can hang out here and certainly run your ads. We'll keep all of that money, but you can't say certain things, right? That's a little bit interesting. We have Nadarb says, go back over to YouTube to somebody, I think. Relic Hunter says, free speech is America. Doesn't America enter all the countries so they can give people democracy and free speech? Well, that's a nice idea. I'm not sure that that's the underlying motivation for much of our foreign policy, but I think they tell us that it is, right? Spreading American democracy around. We have Three Girlies says they are thinning the patriotic herd. I believe that 90% of our military is patriotic. Top brass apparently is not. Okay, we have, yeah, that's a good comment, but I don't think that was for me. That was for Thunder. Want to Know says Joe Snow is pretty good. he was ready for that one. The internet is designed. Let's see. Any other questions? Let's see. So there's a lot of activity going on over there in the locals chat. A lot of activity. And I'd invite you to go on over there and check that out. We're going to wrap up here for the day, but a lot of good conversations taking place over there at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Of course, that is our community, our home away from home over there. So I invite you to go check that out. And of course, if you happen to know anybody in the state of Arizona who needs help with a criminal case, whether it's you or somebody you know or love, we would love the opportunity to help. We're very good at what we do. We have, some fun on the show. We can get a little bit goofy at times. But when people need help, when they're facing criminal charges, when the system is set against them, we can spring right into action and aggressively make sure that we get the results that you deserve. We have a framework for doing it. We have a whole team of people who are passionate about it. We would love the opportunity to help. Our phone number is 480-787-0394. We're online at www.rrlawaz.com. You can take a picture of that QR code with your phone. You can go to our website. We have free case evaluations. You can even schedule online. We are happy to help and ready and standing by. If you're not interested or don't need legal services, then maybe you're interested in some informational offerings. Of course, at gumroad.com/Robert Gruller, I invite you to check out my law enforcement interaction training, a 2.5-hour course where we're talking about the 1, 2, 3 rule for dealing with the police. Very easy framework for hopefully police interactions that never happen. But it's better to know it and not need it than it is to need it and not know it. So make sure you go check that out. Want to give a big welcome and a big shout out. We got some great new members over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. So they just signed up. Let's give a big welcome to Copper Lobo. Welcome to you, Copper. We got Justice Obsessed is in the house. I think I am too, my friend. We have at Chop who just joined us, which is the Capitol Hill something or other. Good to see you, Chop. We got Jay Heath 5150 in the house. MN Coconut, welcome to you. We have Random Graham who signed up, and we have Ba Aloha in the house. Good to see you, Ba Aloha. We have The Last Villain signed up. We have Hal Scion Blue is in the house, and then we had 2 people who signed up for the yearly plan, which is a very much appreciated. That means you're going to be with us for some time. That the one Florida man who we talked about yesterday signed up for the yearly. Good to see you. And then Realtor Patty 14 was a monthly, and then now is a yearly. And we just saw you, Realtor Patty. I know I heard you had a little bit of a trouble sort of updating the card over there. I passed that information along over to the team at Locals, and we'll see if they can, kind of fix that so that's not such a hassle anymore. But we're glad you made it back. And if you want to check that out, of course, head on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Very inexpensive membership, and of course, you do support the show. When you do that, as we know, we are demonetized here, have been for some time. I submitted my reapplication on March 5th, and they said that we'd hear about it in 30 days on March 5th. So we'll still keep waiting, I guess. But there's a lot of good reasons to go on over there at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. One of the best is because we have a monthly Zoom meetup coming up on Saturday, July 24th, 2021 from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time, where we get on Zoom, and your cameras can be on, your cameras can be off, totally up to you. Won't be offended. If your camera's off, I might call you an undercover FBI agent, though. But I mean that with love and affection. But it's a lot of fun over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We're going to have a registration link as the date nears a little bit, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody over there. All right, so that is it for me. Let's just give a couple final bit of farewells. We've got Soul Viking in the house, and TOS, and Want to Know, and Relic Hunter all over in the chat. I'm going to say farewell to everybody over there and to the rest of you. We're going to be back here same time, same place tomorrow at 4 p.m. Arizona time, 5 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Central, and 7 p.m. 7 p.m. on the East Coast. And for that one Florida man, everybody else, have a tremendous evening. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.